Now, in talking about Facebook's bias, obviously part of what we're talking about here is algorithmic bias and the bias that algorithms demonstrate when it comes to the information they serve up to us, or the results that we get in a search engine, or the way in which they identify, say, image recognition. And that's why I felt that today's trending topic is TikTok's algorithmic accuracy. And in this sense, I was really interested, I've rather been interested in comparing the way in which TikTok's algorithm works and, say, Facebook's algorithm or Twitter's algorithm. Because I kind of feel before TikTok came on the scene, most of the social media algorithms as we know it were similar or identical, in that they were all weighted to reward engagement. And the logic was that in having these algorithms reward engagement, you would keep people on the platform longer. So YouTube would promote videos that had a thumbs up or a comment posted. Twitter would promote tweets that had a high number of comments and a high number of retweets and likes. And similarly, Facebook would promote posts that had a high level of comments and a high level of shares. And in using engagement as the primary logic for how the algorithm would operate, it had lots of consequences. The most pronounced consequence with which researchers have demonstrated is the extremism bias. That if your algorithm favors engagement, it means that extremists are going to be the most engaged. They're going to be the ones posting the most comments. They're going to be the ones sharing the content. So it's why the YouTube algorithm was most likely to give you conspiracy videos or, give you anti-medicine or anti-pandemic videos. And this was true on Facebook as well, that Facebook would recommend extremist groups because those groups had the highest levels of engagement. Now, the platforms have been adjusting and kind of reconfiguring these algorithms once they realized that the consequence of rewarding engagement was to celebrate and amplify extremism. But TikTok has taken a completely different approach from day one. That on TikTok, rather than emphasize or reward engagement, TikTok rewards attention. Now, the difference between attention and engagement may appear to be subtle, but it's actually profound. Because when you reward based on attention, well, then it doesn't matter if people post comments. It doesn't matter if people like the video. It doesn't matter if people share the video. The only thing that matters is if they watch it. And on TikTok, if they watch it repeatedly, i.e. over and over and over again. Now, TikTok's advantage is they have shorter form content. So because their content is smaller, people are exposed to a greater volume of content, and therefore the algorithm gets more data points, more information as to how to evaluate what they like or what they're interested in. Now, as a social media researcher, I've found that TikTok's algorithm is far more accurate than any of the others. Because when using engagement as the primary metric, that's not to the user's interest. That's not to the user's agenda. That's to the agenda of the platform, right? Like the engagement metric, that benefits the profit motive of the platform because in keeping you engaged, they're keeping you online more, you're seeing more ads, they make more money. Whereas the attention-based algorithm, that benefits the user because it's respecting your attention and it's feeding your attention. The bottom line of the platform is still served, but it's served secondary, right? And there's a brilliant logic there that in fulfilling the agenda of the user first, in satisfying the attentional needs and interests of the user first, they hang out more. They stick around on the platform longer. And that then allows the platform to benefit because you're getting people to spend more time there. And so in reversing that attitude, in serving the user first rather than the platform not only benefits, it ends up becoming more accurate. The algorithm running that platform becomes more accurate because it better serves the needs and interests of the user. And so that's why TikTok's algorithm is far more accurate, because it focuses on people's attention. But, and here's the big but, Bertha, I brought that up for the specific purpose of highlighting not only is it more accurate, but it's probably more problematic. It's probably more dangerous. It's probably more sinister in terms of the way in which it can actually undermine not just the relationship between the user and the platform, but here's the crazy thing. It could undermine the user's relationship with themselves, because the accurate algorithm all of a sudden becomes kind of psychotherapist in that it can start reading your mind. And that's why today's trending topic really looks at a disturbing trend in terms of TikTok research, which is when the algorithm starts to know you better than you do. So this is an article from Mashable with the headline, TikTok's algorithm knew I was bi before I did, and I'm not the only one. Now, this is interesting in part because of the way in which TikTok does definitely zero in on sexuality and zero in on kind of who people are attracted to, which has a lot to do with our gaze and has a lot to do with the way attention works. But it's also because identity is expressed on TikTok in such an articulated and refined way that it's easy to find yourself being pigeonholed or directed into a niche, into a tribe, or into an identity frame that tells you more about yourself than it does the people you're watching. So, let's read the first few paragraphs here of this article. And I'm going to increase the text. Here's a short list of those who realized that I, a cis woman who'd identified as heterosexual for decades of my life, was in fact actually bi long before I realized it myself recently. My sister, all my friends, my boyfriend, and the TikTok algorithm. On TikTok, the relationship between user and algorithm is uniquely intimate. An app which seemingly contains as many multitudes of life experience and niche communities as there are people in the world, we all start in the lowest common denominator of TikTok. Straight TikTok, as it's popularly dubbed, initially bombards your For You page with the silly pet videos and viral teen dances that folks who don't use TikTok like to condescendingly reduce it to. Quietly, though, TikTok begins reading your soul like some sort of divine digital oracle, prying open layers of your being never before known to your own conscious mind. The more you use it, the more tailored its content becomes to your deepest specificities, to the point where you get stuff that's so relatable that it can feel like a personal attack, maybe in the best way, or, more dangerously, even a harmful trigger from lifelong traumas. And she goes through an example of the way in which they serve the type of content that she's experiencing, thinks about the likes that she encountered and why it fed or encouraged the algorithm. And then she goes on to say, how she consulted her friends as to whether they thought this about herself, and they said yes. She goes on about other people having very similar experiences. And I'm trying to find examples of sort of other people. And again, it's a very personal story, but I think it provides, a very powerful and relevant example as to the impact social media has on our psychology. And I sort of feel that the impact of the first few waves of social media, the Facebooks, the YouTubes, the Instagrams, that was kind of the slowly boiling frog. The impact on our psychology was so gradual, it was slow. We knew it was happening because I remember the social media euphoria of about a decade ago and how it was visibly transforming people, but it didn't have the same shock and awe that I think TikTok has. And I think it's because the TikTok algorithm is so powerful, so effective, so optimized in terms of reverse engineering our identity that we notice it. And that's what freaks us out. And that's what causes us to have this kind of shock. So as a trending topic, I kind of feel it's relevant because it's priming us to recognize this in other instances. Because, TikTok in redefining how algorithms should be based on attention rather than engagement, I think TikTok is going to unleash a wave of copycats that we're going to start to see in the weeks and months to come. And I'm already starting to see other social media platforms adapt to. So, Lucent W points out that TikTok's based in China and as learns from their peers such as Tencent and Baidu. Absolutely. I think that's one of TikTok's advantages is because they were incubated in the Chinese mainland. They then went and bought Musical.ly, which was the North American app that they transformed into TikTok. I'm trying to remember. Trying to remember the Chinese version of TikTok that they used to sort of incubate these ideas. But you're right in the sense that they come at it from a different cultural and a different political approach. And part of the issue when the Trump administration tried to ban TikTok, they sort of acknowledged that TikTok is a kind of data extraction and data export, in that all the data that TikTok collects is sent back to the Chinese mainland where the machine learning models are trained actively. And so you can almost think about it as a kind of digital imperialism in which ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, sends this app into the world so it can extract all this personal information and then use it to train machine learning, whether that's for facial recognition or, in this case, the ability to reverse engineer someone's psyche, to identify their deepest held desires but before they even understand them. Sharita Ryan points out the self-fulfilling prophecy of this, the way that it reinforces your underlying identity. Lucent W responded saying socials in general know your orientation before you even realize it, because they track what you watch and what you click on and what your interests are. And they reinforce that by pushing more and more content related to what you watch. Sharita pointed out, yes, and it learns from its peers. And so that's, she wonders, what does this mean for China's social credit system? What does this mean in surveillance societies that have scoring systems? Which the purpose of then re-engineering or sort of reversing your psychology is to identify maybe you're a potential criminal, maybe you're a potential dissident, or maybe you're a potential head of state. Maybe you're someone the party wants to recruit as, the future of the party and the future political literature. Yes, Douyin. Thanks, Lucent W. Douyin was the TikTok equivalent that exists in the Chinese mainland. And, it's part of TikTok's success because it allows them to develop these algorithms. It allows them to develop these ideas that, can be very powerful when applied, say, to the North American market, where Facebook and Google and Twitter are kind of wrong when looking at engagement as the basis of an algorithm, when instead it's attention that is clearly the much more powerful and much more sinister way of approaching it.